Thanks for watching Backroads Tourist today. I'm Jeff. I'm on the road to my next adventure. I'm headed to Van Meter, Iowa for the Van Meter Visitor Festival. Who or what is the Van Meter Visitor, you might ask? Well, let me tell you the story as best I know. I'm not really well versed in this story, so I'm going to tell you what I think I know, and then if I need to make any adjustments or mea culpas later on in the video, I'll make sure I do that. In late September, early October of 1903, residents of Van Meter reported seeing this winged creature flying over town. For lack of a better description, it kind of looked like a pterodactyl. Let me put a picture up of it right here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Now, it also had a horn coming from its head, and they say that the horn emitted a light or a beam of light or something like that. Now, this creature was seen over several days by many people, including some prominent business people in the Van Meter area. And I guess it was also shot at. People took some pot shots at it, and it would land on like a utility pole in the area, and it landed on top of a building. So it wasn't like in the shadows, fuzzy. I mean, it was right there. They definitely saw it. So as I understand it, the story goes that they followed this creature to the entrance to an abandoned coal mine that was in the area. At the entrance, they found a second creature, which was a little bit smaller than the first one. The creatures retreated into the coal mine, and I believe I heard that the coal mine was then sealed. However, the creature has been sighted a few times since then. I don't know the details on that, but I'm anxious to find out what happened. So, next stop, Van Meter, Iowa. Van Meter is a small town just west of Des Moines. It has a population of right around 2,000 people and maybe one or two flying monsters. The Van Meter Visitor Convention is an annual event held at the end of September, and this year it was in the American Legion Hall. At 11:30, when the doors opened, there was a healthy line of people waiting to get in. I'd estimate there were at least 200 people there. There was a great dealer's room with people selling books, t-shirts, artwork, and other items having to do with the visitor, cryptozoology, hauntings, and a lot of other paranormal topics. There was also a display of replicas of casts of the visitors' tracks. The festival featured several speakers who talked about a wide variety of subjects, including Bigfoot, Frogman, Dogman, and Mothman. After the first lecture, it was time for lunch. The only option was a food truck whose name I couldn't pronounce. Decided on a couple of steak burritos. They are pretty good. Well, we're about halfway through the Van Meter Visitor Festival, and I have to tell you, I'm pretty impressed. This is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I am taking a break out in my car, sitting in the air conditioning just to relax a little bit. But let's take a look and see what is on the schedule for today. Let's take a look at what's been happening here at the Van Meter Visitor Festival. Here's the schedule of events. Started off with the entry for everyone at 11:30, and then at noon, we had a talk on Bigfoot here in Iowa. It was interesting. It was a case I'd never heard of, so I enjoyed that. 12:45, a talk on the Frogman, which is in Ohio. I believe I just got the very tail end of that because in between these two lectures, I went out and got myself some lunch. Going on now that I am missing is Tobias Wayland and the Shadow of the Mothman. Of course, very famous case right there out of West Virginia. And then this is what I'm really looking forward to. At 2:30, 5 Nights of Terror, the walking tour with Chad Lewis. And that's going to be a walking tour of the town here to see where the Van Meter Visitor actually appeared, and the whole history and timeline of what happened in those 5 days and 5 nights when the Van Meter Visitor was roaming around town here. Then at 3:45, Barnaby Jones. No, not that Barnaby Jones, I'm sure, but the history of the Dogman. That's also an interesting thing that I've looked into a little bit. I remember hearing about the Dogman up in Michigan, so it could be interesting to stay around for that. And then finally, wrapping things up at 4:45, Chad Lewis and Kevin Nelson, who are incredible authors. I just bought, don't tell my wife, I bought 7 of their books, and that's going to be Wendigo lore. And I'm not really big into the Wendigo. I mean, I think it's interesting, but it's really not my forte. I'll probably stick around for that. Just because it's these guys who are giving the lectures. So anyway, that's what we have here. And coming up next, I'm going to take you on the tour here, the 5 Nights of Terror walking tour. If you like this video, please prove it to the world by clicking that like button down there. Doing that really helps get this video recommended to others. Also, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the Backroads Tourist channel so you don't miss out on any of the videos I have coming up. If you've already subscribed, I want to take a moment to say thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Okay, we're headed back into the American Legion Hall to join up with the tour. The tour was an additional cost, a whole extra $3 to go on the walking tour of downtown Van Meter to see where the Van Meter visitor did his stuff way back in 1903. Okay, just got word that the tour begins at the Van Meter Library. Not here, so I am on my way to the car to take the 2-minute drive to the Van Meter Library.
So we're going to travel back to 1903, late September. So he walked over to the window, and that's where he saw what he described to be a half-human, half-animal monster. 8 feet tall, with huge featherless wings like leather, a blunt horn on its head, and that's where the light was coming from. Ghost? Yeah. He's so terrified, he shoots out the front window of the bank at this monster. But this gets to my point of, back in 1903 in Van Meter, your reputation was the best thing you had. So some of the most prominent men in town were putting their name to this story. They were attaching themselves to it, saying, this really happened. Extended his wings and started running right down here off to the direction of the old abandoned coal mine, which was on the outskirts of town. The townsfolk believed that's where the creature was living. Good news for us is that's where we're going next.
I didn't know this was going to be part of the tour. I'm kind of excited. We're actually getting to go and visit the old coal mine where the creatures retreated to. Let's take a look.
I'm not sure why. I think one thing she's just checking out.
This is on the 5th night, the plant manager, J.L. Platt, heard the sounds of something coming out of the old abandoned coal mine. He said it sounded like Satan and a regiment of his imps were coming up from hell to wage battle on Van Meter. So they gathered every weapon they could, and just as darkness fell, sure enough, the creature came out of the abandoned coal mine. But there was a Hollywood twist. This time it wasn't alone. It had another one with it. But a posse of men gathered around and waited for them to return. Sure enough, just as daybreak came, they came back and the town shot at them. So many times the newspaper said they could have sunk the Spanish fleet. And that's where the story ended. They went back into the mine. The newspaper said that the townsfolk were going to barricade it and try to come up with a plan on how to kill and exterminate the creatures. So that's where the story ends. We don't know. Did they kill it? Is it still there? Did it fly off to become the Mothman of Point Pleasant? We have no idea. The legend remains. And there have been recent sightings out on this road as well. In the 1980s, a man was out walking his dog. He was new to town. He told me he saw a 5-foot bat fly over him. His dog panicked, and so did he, and he refused to ever come back on this road again. A pastor in Colfax saw what he thought was an Iowa dragon, Googled it and saw the visitor and said, that's exactly what I spotted. So these sightings do continue on.
Well, I have to tell you, I really enjoyed that walking tour of Van Meter. It was so cool to be able to hear the story and see where everything took place at the same time. Well, I made the executive decision to leave the Van Meter Visitor Festival a little bit early for a couple of reasons. First of all, the walking tour was about a little over a mile or so, and it was 85 degrees, and frankly, I'm feeling kind of ripe right now, and I'm just kind of tired. So I have a long drive ahead of me. I'm going to be heading home. So thank you to everyone who put on the Van Meter Visitor Festival. I really had a fantastic time, and I hope to be back there again at future festivals. So what do you think? Does the Van Meter Visitor exist? Did he ever exist? I don't know. There's a lot of compelling evidence. I'm kind of on the fence about it myself. What do you think? Put it in the comments section below. I'd love to read your thoughts on this. And by the way, if you're interested in more strange, unusual, kind of spooky things, well, see that window right down there? Click on that. That's going to take you to a collection of other unusual, spooky type videos that I've done over the past couple years. I think you're going to like those too. Thanks for watching today. I'm Jeff, and I'll see you on the back roads.